I've grown up watching movies and shows just like everyone else, and every one of them has characters, but no other character has really impressed me more than Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now I'll be honest, when I was younger, I hated this character. He was always angry, and for some reason he reminded me of Roger from Doug. It had to have been the hair, because otherwise that really doesn't make sense. It also didn't help that I didn't finish the show at the time either, so I didn't have a rounded view of his development. But come on, back then I was young and stupid. I didn't care about complexity, I just wanted to see characters beat each other up. Give me some swag. But now that I see how complex Avatar really is, I'm now convinced that Zuko is one of the greatest characters ever written. At the beginning, Zuko started off on the surface as a pretty simple villain. His goal was to capture the Avatar so he can regain his father's love and title as Prince of the Fire Nation, or as he would like to call it, regain his honor. However, we find that there's quite a bit more to it than that. When Zuko was 13, he called out a Fire Nation general during a war meeting because of a plan to use soldiers as live bait during a battle. Since the meeting was overseen by his father, the Fire Lord, he was challenged to a duel for speaking out of turn. Unfortunately for him, the duel was against his father and not the general he spoke out of turn to. He refused to fight, was burned violently on the left side of his face, and banished from his country until he found the Avatar. I guess what really stands out to me about Zuko isn't how determined he is, but how much he fails. He gets his ass kicked all the time. He loses fights, his title, his country, his ship's crew, loses his respect, and he loses his old life. A life that was once happy. None of the other Fire Nation generals seem to take him seriously, especially Zhao. Everything beats on this guy so much, but he still, after all the crap hands he's dealt in his life, shows honor in what he does. He makes terrible decisions, but he's still ethical. You'd expect him to be a cold-hearted teenager, and at times, he can be. But there was never a time where you couldn't see a tortured soul underneath of it all. His guilt dictates his life because he wants everything to go back to normal, but it never will go back to normal. You saw an emotionally torn teenager who had an unhealthy addiction for pleasing his father. He's stuck in his position, and he'll always be stuck if he doesn't change. He would eventually lose everything else and be branded a traitor to his country because of his failures, and the only person with him is his wise uncle Iroh. Iroh teaches Zuko philosophy, that he needs to let go of his past to live a better life. He needs to move on. He was always there for him. Zuko would eventually split up from Iroh and try to find his own path. He discovers how truly horrible his country was. He sees that the world in a lot of ways shares his exact pain of loss. He starts to realize that maybe everything he was trying to regain should be left behind. Maybe he really needs to move on. But sadly, his old addictive ways would catch back up to him and consume him again. Thanks to his cynical sister, he makes the ultimate mistake in going back to his old ways and subsequently betraying his caring uncle. And after that final mistake he made, after regaining everything he ever wanted, the throne, his father's love, his country, his respect, everything, what does he feel? An extreme sense of relief now that he has his throne? Eternal happiness? Excitement? Not even close. He feels regret and emptiness. That's the most important part of his story. The fact that after regaining everything, he hates it. He feels shame and regret. This is where the biggest transition comes in. He decides that he's had enough struggling. He needs to do the right thing. He leaves his old life, tells his father he's going to join the Avatar and help him defeat the Fire Nation, and leaves everything behind on the slim chance that he'll be accepted by Aang and his friends. Could you imagine that? Spending 3 years trying to earn something, realize it was a mistake, and throw it all away on the slim chance of being able to redeem yourself? That's a hell of a leap of fate. One of my favorite things about Zuko's arc is seeing how vulnerable he was after he finally made the right choice. After all this time, you finally see the real Zuko. He finally achieves that balance. After all of his struggling and sadness, he finally finds peace in doing good. In many respects, Zuko's story is about addiction, child abuse, a battle of morality within, but really, it's about the meaning of life. He struggles with doing the right thing all the time, and I can relate to this on so many levels. It's hard to change the kind of person you are, especially when you've been that person for so long. It's not easy to make a decision you normally wouldn't make just to live a better life. Zuko is a great role model for anybody trying to find their way. He's a really good kid who has his entire life ruined by one mistake he made. But after struggling, he realizes that he needs to move on. And that's the beauty of it all. Zuko shows that you need to lose. You need to fail. But if you make the right decisions and keep at it, you're gonna win. Learning from your mistakes. You need to be humbled so you can really appreciate what's important in life. How important it is to laugh again. How important it really is to gain friends, to be cared for, to earn a title, to get better at something, to show the world what you can really do. To remember who you truly are. That's why Zuko's date with Jin is so nice. Why his apology to his uncle is heartwarming. Why you laugh at how awkward he is when he's talking to the badger frog. Why it's so awesome to see him win a fight. Why you have a sigh of relief when he becomes the Fire Lord. He's always had his honor. He just never knew it. And little did we know, he was the little soldier boy who came marching home. That is why Zuko is my favorite character of all time. As Doug Walker once said, a great story is great, but if you have a great character, that writes the story for you half the time.